G'day everyone. We all want to be perfect, but what if we're not? Now, King Asa, you may or may not know much about him, but he, in the Bible, is described as being perfect. Yet, it seems like in other places, he falls pretty short. So we want to go through this and discover, is this a contradiction or not? Now, I am going through a whole heap of contradictions. I am a Christian and I want to explore these because there's 439 of these contradictions, and we're going through one a week. And King Asa, was King Asa perfect? I want to go through this, and I'm even going to say with these verses here, I think they are missing one that would actually make their point a little bit stronger. But let's get into this. My name is Craig. This is Morning Star Quest. We are on a journey through the Bible with one question at a time.
So what stands out to you about King Asa being described as perfect in one place and falling short in another?
Well, yeah, it's very interesting because on one hand, there are some verses, and let's just go into those. There are some verses that makes him sound very perfect. He is, I guess, the poster boy of the Bible. However, yeah, there's some other verses that contradict this, and it kind of makes the first, when they say it the first time, it just doesn't quite add up.
That's a great observation. It's fascinating how different verses can paint seemingly conflicting pictures. What do you think is the context behind these contradictions?
Well, let's explore these verses. Now let's just go back here. We've got 1 Kings 15:14, 2 Chronicles 15:17. As the opposition verses are 2 Chronicles 16, and we might as well just say 7 to 12 because they're arranging from, selecting from the same section. And like I said, I think there's one missing here that would make their point a little bit stronger. But well, let's go through that first one.
All right, let's start with 1 Kings 15:14. What stands out to you in that verse?
1 Kings 15:14, although he did not remove the high places, Asa's heart was fully committed to the Lord all his life. Okay, that sounds perfect, although he didn't remove the high places, which is interesting. Now, let's just go through high places. What are the high places?
High places were sites of worship often used for pagan rituals. Asa's commitment to God, despite not removing them, shows a mix of faithfulness and human imperfection. What else stands out to you from this verse?
Nothing yet, but let's keep going. So we'll go to 2 Chronicles 15:17. It pretty much says the same thing. Although he did not remove the high places from Israel, Asa's heart was fully committed to the Lord all his life. Okay, so that's pretty much saying the same thing. No contradiction there. Although it kind of still, commitment to the Lord all his life. Is this really a commitment if he hasn't taken the high places or the pagan worship sites out of his domain?
That's a valid point. His heart's commitment might have been genuine, but his actions show a complex reality. How do you think this complexity affects our understanding of his character?
This is 2 Chronicles 14:3-5. I don't know why this is not in this original. If I go back to here, it's not in these verses. And like I said, if I was a atheist, I would include this verse because it makes a stronger point to how perfect he is, and then we'll go into how perfect he wasn't. He removed the foreign altars and the high places, or the foreign worship, smashed the sacred stones and cut down the Asherah poles. He commanded, and Asherah is a god, so it's this Asherah's god's poles. He commanded Judah to seek the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and to obey his laws and commands. He removed the high places and the incense altars in every town in Judah, and the kingdom was at peace under him. Okay, that sounds like a fairy story, doesn't it? Everyone lives happily ever after. However, it does get into Well, it feels like the alternate universe starts up when we come into this verse, which is they've mentioned like 3 verses from this, but I'll give you the whole lot. At the time of Hanani, the seer came to Asa, king of Judah, and said to him, because you relied on the king of Aram and not on the Lord your God. Now, I think Aram, is that the king of Israel? Because there's king of Israel and there's king of Judah, because they're split into 2 factions or 2 areas.
Aram was a different kingdom often allied with Israel. The split you're mentioning is between the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. It's significant because Asa's reliance on Aram shows a shift from trusting God to relying on political alliances.
So at this point, he's not even relying, like he's in the southern kingdom of Judah, he's not even relying on the northern kingdom, Israel, which is the closest he should be there. Even though Israel's kings were bad, it's at least closer to God than Aram, I guess.
Exactly. It's a big departure from his earlier reliance on God, and that's part of what makes these stories so interesting. They highlight the complexities and struggles even faithful leaders faced.
And then we go, when were not the Cushites and the Libyans a mighty army with great numbers of chariots and horsemen, yet when you relied on the Lord, he delivered them into your hand. So obviously they're talking about beforehand. For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. You have done a foolish thing, and from now on you will be at war. Asa was angry with the seer because of this. He was so enraged that he put him in prison. So basically, he was angry at God telling him that he should follow God, and he didn't.
Exactly. Asa's reaction here shows a significant shift from his earlier faithfulness. It's a powerful reminder of how even strong leaders can falter. Do you think this complexity is what makes the story so compelling?
Oh, definitely. But it does seem like a contradiction here, doesn't it?
It does. The contrast between his earlier devotion and later actions seems contradictory. It's a reminder that biblical characters, like real people, are complex and multidimensional.
And and I think the last verse here is in the 39th year of his reign, I think it was 41 years, was afflicted with a disease in his feet. Though his disease was severe, even in his illness, he did not seek help from the Lord, but only from his physicians. So this is sounding very contradictory to the other one we said about, where everybody lived happily ever after.
Absolutely. It's a stark contrast. Asa's earlier devotion versus his later reliance on human means alone. It underscores the theme of human imperfection, even among those who start strong in faith.
Now, one thing I find interesting is there is a bit of a time difference, isn't there, from some of these verses? Like when he took away the high places of Judah and they lived happily ever after, that is not the same time as when he was imprisoning the seer, wasn't it?
Exactly. These events occur at different points in his reign, showing a progression over time. It's a reminder that people can change, and their faith journey can have ups and downs.
And I guess this is what happened with Solomon. I guess it happened with David too, didn't it? Like King David.
Yes, both Solomon and David had moments of great faith and significant failures. Their stories, like Asa's, highlight the complexities of human nature and faith.
And this is a very complex thing. Like I know in my life, I want to do good and I have a heart for God, but there are times when I feel like I fail.
That's a very relatable struggle. We all have moments of weakness, even when our intentions are good. It's part of the human experience.
It is, even when it comes down to it, like this, like it says that Asa was fully devoted to God. Now, there's a word there, I think, shalem, is that the right? How do we say that?
The Hebrew word you're thinking of is shalem, which means complete or whole. It emphasizes full devotion even if there are moments of failure.
Actually, that's interesting. full devotion even though there's moments of failure. That sounds very human.
It really is. It shows that full devotion doesn't mean perfection, but rather a sincere commitment despite our imperfections.
And I'm just reminded now when people say, "Look, I can't go to church because I'm not perfect. Everyone's too good for me there." But it's really the opposite. The people that are at church, that are devoted to God, know they have significant flaws. I haven't even significant flaws in how I speak, but. And so we go to God because we know we are broken.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our need for God and seeking Him despite our flaws. It's a place for imperfect people who are on a journey of growth.
Absolutely. And I think, and there's some other things in this story where I think we are missing some points. Now, let me just go back to, let me see if I can, this a little bit more obvious. Let's go. Although he did not remove the high places from Israel, Asa's heart was fully committed to the Lord all his life. Now, just remember something here. Asa, is he king of Israel?
No, Asa was the king of Judah, not Israel.
So how can he remove the high places from Israel if he is not the ruler of Israel? He's the ruler of Judah.
That's a great point. Asa wouldn't have authority over Israel, which is a separate kingdom. This highlights how his commitment was limited to Judah and couldn't extend beyond his realm.
So really, he couldn't have anyway.
Exactly. His influence was confined to Judah. This underscores the complexities of his reign and the limitations he faced.
One thing I do find interesting though, because, and this is adding to the complexity, that he did take over some areas in Israel. Is that correct? Like he took over a couple of little areas, but those areas he didn't remove high places or anything like that.
Yes, he did capture some towns in Israel, but it appears he didn't remove the high places there. This adds another layer to the story, showing that even in areas he controlled, not everything was changed.
But was that in later life or in earlier life?
That was during his earlier military campaigns. It seems the removal of high places wasn't consistent, highlighting the complexities of his reign.
And it does feel like well, I guess it depends, but I mean, even like at his height when he first started and he's removing everything, he even deposes his grandmother because she was worshipping other gods and removed an idol that was horrific. So right off the bat, he's really good. But then things start to happen, don't they?
His initial zeal and reforms were strong, but over time, things changed. It's a powerful reminder of how staying faithful can be challenging over a lifetime.
And I guess it could even be that, he starts off strong, but then things get political and, okay, we'll do this if you do that. And it just starts to get a little bit complicated and, okay, we didn't remove all of the places, but we got rid of most of them. The cities are good, but out in there in the, rural areas, not quite so much.
Politics and practicalities often complicate things. Even with good intentions, compromises can happen, especially over time. It's a reminder that maintaining initial zeal can be challenging.
I feel that none of this is contradictory because it starts off great, gets a little bit political. He's talking about, like the Bible is talking about areas that he doesn't have jurisdiction over. So, of course, those places haven't removed their idols. Maybe he's got some influence, but it doesn't really work very well. So, really, it's a very human story over 40 years, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a nuanced story that reflects the complexities of life and leadership. Over 40 years, there are bound to be ups and downs. And it's a reminder that faith journeys can be complicated and evolving.
And it says that he had faith for the rest of his life. However, we know that right at the end, he was trusting in other gods. He was trusting in other people. He had disease in his legs. He wasn't trusting God.
It shows that faith can have fluctuations, and even those who start strong can face challenges in the end. It's a very human experience, showing that faith journeys aren't always linear.
And I kind of see a reflection of myself, but also humanity, that we try and be perfect. We go in wholehearted, but there are just some things we miss. We don't quite get, or we're going, oh, okay, well, I will let this little thing go. And then years later, it's a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And yeah, it just gets a bit overwhelming. And then we think, oh, now it's too far gone. And we find ourselves in a place we didn't think we should be, but we're still wholeheartedly moving forward. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a very relatable cycle. We strive for perfection, but inevitably face setbacks and challenges. The important thing is that we keep moving forward, learning, and growing from those experiences.
And I guess Asa, just like King David, just like King Solomon, everybody in the Bible is a testament to how we strive to be perfect, but we fall short every time. And you and I know that there's only one person in the Bible that never fell short, and that's Jesus. And really, Asa is just a foreshadow of what we want Jesus to be, but we fail, but Jesus doesn't.
Asa, like many others, points to our need for a perfect Savior. The stories in the Bible highlight human imperfection and the ultimate perfection found in Jesus. It's a powerful reminder of grace and hope.
So there you have it. That is not a contradiction, because it's over 40 years and people are complex. So go do something awesome for God and click on one of these videos, because, well, I'm going through, as I said, one a week for 439 weeks, which is 8.5 years, I think. So it's going to be a long journey. I'm 6-7 months into this, so we've got a long journey, but we've done a lot as well. So go do, like I said, go do something awesome for God, and I'll catch you in the next one.